Tying another wet fly from Ray Bergman's book Trout. This is the Esmeralda. Pretty simple little pattern with some brown hackle and brown mallard in the tail. I like these kinds of wet flies that have the floss body and a floss rib on them. They just look kind of, I don't know, very appealing, very, very handsome to me. Nice little caddis pattern. That's the Esmeralda. I get busy tying. So I'm going to start the Esmeralda with my hook on the vise. This is a Mustad 33.99 in a size 6. I'll debarb the hook. I'm going to attach, there's a green floss body on this, so I'm going to start with a white thread. This is a Danville 70 denier in white. Put a little wax on my thread. And attach my thread about an eye length behind the eye of the hook and advance it down. This just puts a base layer of thread along the hook shank, keeps things nice and smooth. I get down to the point of the hook, I'll stop. There is a tail on the Esmeralda and it is brown mallard. I've got some dyed mallard flank here in a brown color. You could probably use some bronze mallard. It's interesting because older recipes, when they refer to brown mallard, what they're actually talking is bronze mallard flank. But I don't know nowadays if sometimes they aren't referring to mallard flank that is dyed. I think either way, it's a brown mallard flank, so that's what we're going to go with. I'm going to peel away some of the fluff. I want to get to some of these fibers that are more consistently the same length. And I don't need a lot. I only need maybe about 10 barbs for this. It's not a real big bushy tail or anything. I'm going to bring these out perpendicular to the rachis here as best I can to try and get those tips even. Peel those off. And then I'm going to tie these in. I'm going to tie those in so they're about a shank length long. Keep in mind that when you measure this, if this is the shank length, then if right off my fingers is where that's going to get tied in, my thread is actually a little bit ahead of the end of the body. So I'm going to want to put that tie-in point at the end of the shank here, when actuality I'm tying that in just a little bit further forward. The reason for this is simply to keep things smooth. I'll keep advancing my thread down a few turns to get that tail material in. Now I'll put in the rib and the body and then advance my thread back forward, so I'm not putting a lot of wraps in the same place. Trim that to length. There is a rib of yellow floss. I'm using a Danville 4-strand Rayon floss in yellow. I'm going to use just 2 of these strands for the rib. I'm going to tie this in on the far side of the hook shank. I'll pull that back so it's about the length of the body. 1 wrap in to hold that. And then I'll tie in the body, which is just a light green floss. Same thing, a Danville Rayon floss. I'm going to tie that in and anchor that in on my side. Again, pulling this to the left so that this comes down the length of the body. I'll put in a couple of wraps. This will bring me down 3 or 4, bring me right down to the end of the shank, which is just a little bit in front of the barb. And now I can go back forward and I'll have a nice smooth underbody here for this fly. Touching turns, I'll bring my thread forward. More wax help grip the material. I want to make certain I'm keeping that material on top or on sides of the hook shank where it's supposed to be. I just don't want it twisting around and getting a pronounced kind of twist or rib underneath the body. My thread at the end of the body, I'll now apply the green floss and then the yellow rib. Five evenly spaced wraps for the rib. You probably noticed that as I was wrapping that around, I was twisting that in a clockwise direction so that the rib would have a nice round cord look to it. Wouldn't lay flat. Advance my thread forward. Now I'm going to change over to my black thread. I'm using a Danville 70 denier in black. This is the finishing thread. I don't use the black thread under the green floss because I don't want to darken up that floss when it's in the water. You use a lighter floss for that, or excuse me, a lighter thread for that. Attach my thread, wrapping backwards to secure the white thread and the tag of black. Then I can cut those off. And I'm going to come back to the end of the head space and tie in the wing. Now the wing is just a light slate, is what the recipe calls for. I'm using some duck quills here, and these natural mallard ducks right here, if you look, it's a darker gray right here, but you get a nice light gray color right down near the bottom. So I've got my two slips. I'm going to peel one slip off, place the feather on top of that slip, match those up. I want to make certain that my tips are even first. So I can slide this around a little bit and get my two tips even, and I'll get that top edge even. These are going to be a little bit wide, which is fine because the slip that is now on my side is a little bit wider than the slip that's on that side. So you get one edge, like the top edge with that point right there, I get that evened up, and I get that top edge the same. Now I can take my bodkin in here and I can remove the barbs that are on this side that are too wide, but also take 2 or 3 off of my side so that both of them are now the same width. I'm going to tie those in. I want the tips to come back about halfway down the tail. I'll bring my thread over the top, a little pinch and loop. As I bring that down and I start to bring that wing in, I'm going to roll my fingers forward to secure it so that it comes right down on top of the hook. Trimming away the excess there, I will now get in the collar. Smoothing this off a little bit, I've got one black thread fiber there that's kind of getting, I guess it got covered up. So now I have the head all smoothed off, ready for the hackle, and the hackle is just a brown hackle. I'm just using this brown hen saddle here. I'm going to take this, and I'm only going to put a couple wraps of this around, but I want the resulting barbs to be about the length from right at the head space to just inside the gap of the hook, right in the throat area there. So I'm going to isolate the tip and cut this off. Give myself a little handle right here for tying this in. Advance my thread forward, just behind the eye there. Grab my hackle pliers, and I'll put 2 wraps of this hackle in. Take your time with this and get these folded back. It makes it a little bit easier, a little smoother. There's one wrap there. I'm going to bring this around almost down to the eye of the hook. Actually, I'm going to put a third. That's a little bit sparse. I'm just going to put a third wrap right here. Bring this up and catch that rachis. I'm going to sweep all this back. Now I'm going to form the head from right behind the eye rearward. I just want to keep wrapping backwards a little bit, binding in the barbs in that rachis as I make the head of the fly. I can then pop that off, flatten my thread, and put in a whip finish. Trim away my thread. This hackles out a little bit there. I'm going to put some fly-tight head cement on the head here. This is just a alcohol-based head cement. It's a thin cement. So the nice thing is it soaks right down into those threads and secures all of the thread wraps. I'll come back and put a couple coats of a clear lacquer on there and a black lacquer, and the Esmeralda will be complete. So there you have it, another Ray Bergman wet fly from the book Trout. Handsome little fly. There's a number of them that I've done that have the floss bodies with the floss rib, and I like them very much. I just think it's a really nice look to it. The rib adds just a little bit of depth to it, as well as a contrasting color, and just makes it look very nice. A nice little caddis pattern, I think. So that's the Esmeralda. Thanks for watching today.
Thank you for joining me at the Vise today. I hope you learned a new pattern, at least a tip or trick here and there. If you'd like to help Dress Irons, you can like, comment, share, subscribe, all those wonderful things for the video. You can also head out to dressedirons.com where you can buy flies, tools, stickers, and merch, or you can join a growing community over on Locals at the Dressed Irons Fly Tying Guild. You can also donate to Dressed Irons if you want through the link at the bottom of the description. I thank everybody for their ongoing support, as it really does help the creation of these videos. But what's important is to remember, only fly tying. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.